Hi, I'm Kevin and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to make a dehydrated camping meal that I call Backcountry Harira. If you're a fan of the channel and you like my food videos, you've probably said to yourself, Kev has not made a food video in quite a while. And you're right. That's because food videos take a little bit of extra effort, and I've been working hard on my cookbook, which came out a few months ago. You can find more information about this down below in the description, and I'll talk a little bit more about it later in the video. And today we are making a dehydrated version of harira. Harira is a very popular dish in the Middle East and across North Africa, and I got this idea by watching another channel called Middle Eats. Obi from the channel Middle Eats likes to use YouTube as a platform to share his culture through food, and he makes some great modern versions of traditional Middle Eastern dishes. And you might say that my culture is camping, and I like to turn meals into dehydrated versions. And you might notice that I like to borrow from North African and Middle Eastern and even Indian cuisine for my dehydrated meal ideas. Those parts of the world are really, really hot, and you'll notice there isn't often a lot of refrigeration available, so the meals in those areas of the world tend to have a fairly low fat content, which makes them very easy to dehydrate. Also, it's common to find a variety of one-pot meal ideas that are just excellent for backcountry tripping. To make this meal, you're going to want some celery, a couple of onions, some vegetable stock, a can of lentils, a can of chickpeas, a can of diced tomatoes, and a can of tomato paste. You're going to want some pasta. I've got some spagattini here. And you're going to want some lamb, ground lamb. So this is a first for me. I have not dehydrated lamb meat before. I'm going to use the same process that I use for ground beef. I really like lamb meat. It has a very intense flavor. I have a feeling I'm going to lose some of that flavor intensity in the dehydration process. And ground lamb is a lot more expensive than alternatives like ground beef or chicken or just leaving it vegetarian. And all those options are just as authentic as the lamb version. So depending on how this goes, I may or may not use lamb in future versions of this recipe. We'll see. It's an experiment. You're also going to want some ground ginger, some cinnamon, some ground coriander, and some turmeric. In the end, we're going to add a little bit of parsley. And I almost forgot we need a little bit of flour. Let's prep. And yes, I drain and rinse my chickpeas and lentils and beans and anything else that comes from a can. Don't you? Actually, I think this is a real issue that's 50-50. I've seen some real top-notch professional chefs insist that you drain your chickpeas and rinse them. And I've seen some other top-notch chefs on television suggest that you add the juice from the can into your meal because it's worth trying and it might add a little more flavor. Now let's cook. I'm going to saute the aromatics until they're soft, and then I'm going to add the spices. I'll leave them on the heat for a little while, let them roast out a little bit. Add a little bit of pepper as well. A little bit of salt. Keep stirring. and then the tomatoes and the vegetable broth and the tomato paste. Give that a stir. Now you're going to want to add some water to that flour and whisk it up with a fork, getting out all the lumps. All the lumps. Add that to your pot and stir. Going to bring that up to a boil and then add the pasta. Stir that around and let it cook. After that pasta is cooked, we're going to add the lentils and chickpeas. Give it a stir and then we're done. Take it off and head to the dehydrator. Now let's cook that ground lamb. I'm going to add the lamb slowly to the boiling water in small chunks. This takes a little while, but it's worth it. You want all the fat to boil out of the meat. To make sure you get out all the fat from the meat, you can press any big chunks you find against the wall of the pot with a spoon, or pull them out and mash them up with a fork. I'm going to let this boil for at least 15 minutes, and then I'm going to remove it and drain the meat in a colander. Next, I'm going to pour boiling water from a kettle through the meat to remove as much fat as possible. I'm going to spread the cooked lamb meat out on a dehydrator tray, and I'm going to mash up any larger pieces with a fork, and if necessary, I'll use my hands to break them up. And the rest of this soup is going to go onto trays of my other dehydrator. I'm going to dehydrate the meat at 165 Fahrenheit and set the timer for 10 hours. And the rest of the soup is going to be set at 135 degrees Fahrenheit. I dehydrated everything thoroughly, and then I mixed the dried lamb with the rest of the soup, and I repackaged it and put it into a plastic bag. This is more than an individual serving. An individual serving for me is about 125 grams. That's how I measure my serving, by the dry weight of the package. But I wanted a really nice full bowl for this video. To rehydrate this meal, I'm going to pour this into a pot. And I'm just going to cover this with water, then I'll bring it to a boil. After it comes to a boil, I'll remove it into a pot cozy and let it sit for about 15 minutes. That should be all it takes, maybe a stir or two, and the meal should be ready. So while that is rehydrating, this is a great time for me to tell you about my new book, Backcountry Eats. This book has been out for a few months now. It's doing great. It's getting some excellent reviews. This book is all about how to help you get into the backcountry with some great meal ideas. There's over 100 dehydrated food recipes in this book. And the first 100 pages are all about how to dehydrate food, how to select a dehydrator, how to meal plan, how to ration plan. There's even a section on how to bake in the backcountry. There are some links below that will help you purchase this book, or you can go to backcountry-eats.com. That's backcountry-eats.com. It's looking really good. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of clarified butter just to put some of the fatty taste back into the meal. This makes a difference because we removed all the fat from the lamb meat. I'm just going to stir that around. I'm going to put it into a bowl, and then I'm going to add the parsley and give it one last stir. All right, let's give this meal a try. That's really good. I'm going to try some of the lamb here. Got a couple big chunks of lamb. You know, I can taste the lamb flavor, but this would work just fine with ground beef or chicken, or you could just make this vegetarian, no problem. The chickpeas, I'll grab a chickpea here. They're nice and tender. The lentils are tender. This sauce is just amazing. The flavors are really, really good. You're really going to enjoy this in the backcountry. This would be great any day, but I would probably save this for a really wet, rainy, cold day. It'll change your mood. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, please hit like, share, and subscribe. As always, I hope you have a great day. This is pretty damn good. Yeah, that's gonna work. I think a little bit more pepper would have been nice.